So what? Yes, hello. I'm not dead. Today I decided I'm gonna upload the next episode of all things Astroneer. Today's topic is I can definitely English well. Today's topic is sorry, let me try that again. Today's topic is going to be the terrain tool. Now there are a lot of factors to take in when using a terrain tool, and in this video we're basically gonna cover them all, from digging, sculpting, and much more. So in this video, we're actually gonna be featuring another snail, because in every video we need to feature a snail, right? Oh, and by the way, I'm now maining the new suit, the Conductor Suit. I find it a lot, I really like this suit. I mean, of course, pajamas will always have a good special place in my heart, but this suit just does it for me. It's my favorite now. So now, from now on, you're gonna see me wearing this suit mostly. First of all, let's talk about the terrain tool's main properties. Now, in the case of Astroneer, your terrain tool is quite literally your best friend. For the deform mode, you can basically collect resources. For example, we just collected some organic, and you can deform the terrain like that, basically dig into it. This is essential when collecting resources. I'm not joking. Quite literally in Astroneer, your terrain tool is your best friend. You cannot beat the game without it. Oh, and that thing in the background, we'll get to that later. Now, the next thing we're going to be focused on is the terrain tool flatten mode. Now, this flatten mode, as you can tell by the name, is basically used to flatten. This is very useful for making planes for foundations for bases, and you can just make some pretty cool stuff with this. You can flatten sideways, you can flatten downwards, and you can even flatten upwards, which is exactly how I made this horrifying thing. And then the last one of the three basic modes, there's the terrain tool add mode. This mode can be used to basically sculpt things out of nowhere. As long as you have some soil in your soil canister, the only limit is your imagination. And we've made an absolute mess. Now those are the three main modes of the terrain tool in Astroneer Adventure mode. But in creative mode, there are two other modes. You can basically color drop different things and then paint with that. It's very interesting. And there are also some other things. For example, in creative, you can change the deform speed, the size, and even the range. You can make it so that it ignores hardness, which we'll get to later, and you can change the color if you want. So you can just do whatever you want. See, I even painted my channel name with the terrain tool. So there's really no limit to what you can make. Something kinda sad though is that if you've made some artwork like I just did, then it might not lock in the terrain and it might get messed up like this. Might look really weird from far. But with the terrain anchor in creative mode, it doesn't have to be that way. Now, essentially what this does, it takes in a certain area and it locks in the status of the terrain. It could be painted or not painted. As far as it doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the planet or if you're like 50 feet in the air and you can't see because it's so low quality. The terrain anchor will keep it in view. This is it without the terrain anchor. And this is it with the terrain anchor. And now a quick little intermission from Exodynamics. Right now there's something new in the Exodynamics Outfitters store. And you can get it for free. Yeah, you heard me right. Yes, on the new stuff page there's the ARM 80 and Escape patch. But here you can see there's the Summer Sun bundle. And it's actually free. So please get these beautiful skins and visors before they're out of time. And basically after that, I don't know if they're gonna bring it back again, but for free you can get two visors and 2 palettes. For free you can get the Sunrise visor and the Sunrise palette, and you can also get the Sunset palette and the Sunset visor. This one is my personal favorite. So get it now before it's gone forever. Now back to the video. Well, we've talked about the different terrain tool modes. Now let's talk about the terrain tool mods. The first and most notable of those mods are the drill mods. Now essentially these let you deform harder terrain, like you see on the mountains of Silva. And terrain hardness is actually displayed through these weird lines in the terrain, as you can see here. Let's say I'm trying to dig through some tough terrain to get to a certain resource, and it doesn't dig very fast. Well, you can use a drill mod Now, yes, you can use drill mods to get through tough terrain, but there are more and higher levels of toughness of terrain, which you're going to need more and more advanced drill mods for. Quick thing I need to mention about terrain tool mods, they do require power, so if you're going to have any on your terrain tool, you should have a QT RTG or some connection to power. Now there is a drill mod 1, which will upgrade your drilling strength to handle harder terrain surfaces. You need to attach it to the terrain tool to activate it. Now all you need to do for that is go into your backpack, and then try and figure out which button activates the terrain tool so you can just slap it on. There we go, and you can toggle if it's activated or not, so you can decide if power is being drawn from your backpack when you're using it. Then there's the drill mod 2, and this takes 0.5 units of power, so it's going to take progressively more power the better the drill mod, or the more efficient the drill mod, and essentially this one is it's literally just the same as the drill mod 1, but it's used to get through tougher terrain. And it's the same story with the drill mod 3. Basically, gets you through tougher terrain, and it draws more power. Next up is the boost mod. It increases the deformation speed, and you need to attach it to the terrain tool for it to be active. It does, however, take almost 1 unit of power, so you're going to need some decent power. This is the final time I'm going to mention it. All these terrain mods require power, so you're going to need some connection to power, maybe a tether to connect it to RTGs, or a portable RTG, if you will. Now this is not like a drill mod. A drill mod will help you get through terrain. It'll help you get through tougher terrain. The boost mod helps you get through regular terrain, or terrain that you can already dig through quicker. Next up is the wide mod. Basically, this one widens the deformation area of the terrain tool, and you need to attach it to the terrain tool for it to be active. It draws 0.5 units of power, so not much. And as you can imagine, here's the terrain tool area without the wide mod, and here it is with the wide mod. So you're going to be deforming a lot more terrain. And this also goes for flattening and painting in creative mode. Oh, and adding terrain. Now next up we have the narrow mod. Now this reduces the deformation of the terrain tool. Basically narrows the area that you can dig. And as you can imagine, it does take some power, and you'll have to attach it to the terrain tool to activate it. And as you can imagine, this is the terrain tool area without it, and this is the terrain tool area with the mod. Look, it's so tiny. And I would imagine you would probably use that for sculpting. Now the inhibitor mod is up next, and it essentially allows you to deform the terrain without deforming the terrain. Let me explain. Let's say you're out and you find some resources and then you want to collect them, but you don't want to mess up the ground. Well, the inhibitor mod is for you. You can basically collect resources without deforming the terrain, if you will. This is an absolutely amazing way to collect some resources, as you basically don't have to deform the terrain at all, and especially organic in this case, which usually nobody wants, but I do for the limited time event this time around, although maybe it might knock over some trees. Timber. Now for the last, but definitely not the least, of the terrain tool mods. Actually, maybe the least. We have the alignment mod. It aligns the terrain deformation, or addition, or, actually not smoothing, but painting for sure. It aligns the terrain deformation to the curvature of the planet. Basically, you can't go sideways. And for some reason, it does this with the terrain tool. But surprisingly, we can deform and curve the flattening. That is a very interesting tool. And I made this weird thing with it. Also, even if I try to dig down and I move if I move my camera anywhere else, it will not move the terrain tool. It'll just keep going down, it'll go straight. It aligns it so that it can't move. Oh, and of course we need to include the featured snail of this episode, Bestafar. Now you can feed him any seed and he'll give you the power of that. Now this absolute beast of a mod is basically a width mod, a boost mod, and a drill mod 1. All in one power. Bestafar is your best friend of your... Bestafar is the best friend of your terrain tool. Here's the terrain tool without Bestafar. And here's the terrain tool with best of far. Big improvement. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of All Things Astroneer. This video, we talked about the terrain tool, its many uses, and yeah, we talked about different ways to improve your terrain tool, including this little cute guy. And we talked about how you can use your creativity to lock in those sweet designs on the ground so that they don't fade away when you get far away from them. Well, this has been very fun to record. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Get out there, explore your creativity, and use your terrain tool to your advantage. And to be honest, the terrain in Astroneer isn't an obstacle in most games. It's actually a tool. Let's say you need to get across a mountain. Use the terrain tool to build a bridge. So get lost in your creativity, sculpt and paint with the terrain tool in creative mode now in Astroneer. Okay, goodbye.